They marched into battle believing they were defending honor, heritage, and a way of life, but when the American Civil War ended in 1865, the fate that awaited Confederates was more shocking and devastating than execution. As the smoke cleared, many expected mass trials, firing squads, and permanent banishment from American society. Instead, the punishment came in a slower, deeper form, the complete destruction of the Southern world they had known. The Confederacy collapsed overnight, leaving behind burned cities, ruined farms, and a population traumatized by 4 years of relentless bloodshed. Confederate money became worthless scraps of paper, railroads lay twisted and unusable, and entire regions were pushed into extreme poverty. Men who had once commanded armies returned home to find their houses looted or destroyed, their families struggling to survive, and their social status erased in an instant. For the Southern elite, the fall was especially brutal. Plantation owners who had built their wealth on enslaved labor lost not only their fortunes but the foundation of their power, as millions of enslaved people were freed by law and by force of arms. Former masters were suddenly dependent on wage labor, sharecropping, or government aid, a humiliation many found unbearable. Confederate political leaders were barred from office, required to swear loyalty to the very government they had fought against, and forced to watch Union troops enforce new laws across the South. Even Jefferson Davis, the former Confederate president, spent years imprisoned and disgraced, his once grand vision reduced to failure and public scorn. Though most leaders were eventually pardoned, the damage to their reputations and authority was permanent. Ordinary Confederate soldiers faced an equally grim reality. Many returned home wounded, disabled, or emotionally scarred, only to find no jobs, no land, and no future waiting for them. With farms destroyed and industry in ruins, hunger and homelessness became widespread. Veterans who had survived the battlefield now struggled against poverty, illness, and despair, while widows and orphans filled the South. The promised glory of the Confederate cause had vanished, replaced by a daily fight for survival in a defeated and occupied land. This sense of loss and humiliation fueled deep resentment, giving rise to the "lost cause" myth, a powerful narrative that reimagined defeat as noble and unavoidable while denying slavery's central role in the war. Former Confederate leaders were romanticized as heroes, and Southern suffering was emphasized while the suffering of formerly enslaved people was ignored or erased. At the same time, violent resistance emerged, with groups like the Ku Klux Klan using terror to undermine Reconstruction and restore white dominance. Lynchings, intimidation, and political violence became tools to reclaim power that had been lost on the battlefield. In the end, the fate of the Confederates was not swift death or exile, but something far more enduring and painful, a long legacy of defeat, bitterness, and unresolved injustice. The South would spend generations struggling with the consequences of the war, as economic devastation, racial conflict, and political division reshaped the nation. What began as a fight for independence ended as a cautionary tale, one where mercy replaced vengeance, but the scars of loss and failure would haunt America for more than a century.